We are very lucky to have someone like Vamsi sir who has a huge wealth of experience in the industry. It's very nice of him to be here and share his knowledge with us. Also, the topic is very relevant in the current situation where the business and trade has been disrupted by the COVID pandemic and its after effects. So now let me get into the duty vested on me for this meeting, which is to welcome all of you to this session. First, I would like to welcome our speaker, Mr. Vamsi Mallempati, to this meeting. Vamsi sir is a seasoned HR professional with years of industry experience and in manufacturing sector and has worked in various industries like pharmaceutical, cement, etc. Currently, he is working as a site HR lead at Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. He holds a master's degree in human resource management from Andhra University with a gold medal. He also has a diploma in training and development from Indian Society for Training and Development. Sir is a certified practitioner of various psychometric and personality assessment courses, including inside out coaching technique, and is a trained coach from International Coaching Federation. In his career as a HR professional, he has worked in prestigious companies like Aditya Birla Group and Milan Laboratories and at their manufacturing units as well as in their corporate offices. He has expertise in areas like talent acquisition, talent management, learning and development, and organizational development interventions. Currently, in his role as a site HR lead, he heads the HR function at one of the API units of Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, which is based at Hyderabad. Also, they received a gold award under the category of excellence in new ecosystem post COVID-19 for their HR interventions under the leadership of Sir. Also, Vamsi Sir is a lifetime member of National HRD Network and Indian Society for Training and Development. So I'm sure that all of us, irrespective of our specializations, will be able to learn something new from this session and from the experience of Vamsi Sir. So on that note, once again, I welcome Vamsi Sir to this meeting. Welcome, sir. Next, I would like to welcome our faculty members. Vijay sir is already here, so it is very nice of them to spend time of their busy schedule and to attend sessions like this and thereby show their support to our student-driven activities. So welcome faculties. Last but not least, I would like to welcome all of you who have gathered here for this meeting, and I hope you all benefit from this session. So now, without any delay, let's head over to Vamsi sir. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thanks, Vishnu. And also thanks, Vijay, for this wonderful opportunity. So good morning, friends. So can I have my presentation on screen, please? Yep. Yes. Thanks. Can you please put it on? Uh, Thanks, Aditi. So friends, today I'm going to discuss about HR for business continuity during a crisis situation. Though I will use COVID-19 as an example, I'm going to present a model to you, which can be replicated in any crisis situation. However, the kind of interventions may differ depending on the type of scenario. But the essence behind handling this crisis remains same. I'm going to present this as a model to you today. So let me also tell you, this is something as an individual, I personally feel pride about. Running business during tough times, especially a scenario like COVID, whatever experience that we have gained so far, entire experience has gone for a toss. Whatever theories that we had learned in our colleges and schools, everything had gone for a toss because nobody had experience in handling such a crisis, at least in the last century. So for the entire fraternity, it was completely new. However, we evolved this day by day. We did some experiments. We evolved this concept day by day, and we managed the business is continued without any interruption. Let me also tell you, I'm going to speak with reference to pharmaceutical industry because when COVID has hit the entire world. Almost all the software companies and all service sectors were shut down, or probably they have opted work from home option. Whereas pharmaceutical comes under essential services because ensuring uninterrupted supply of medicines to the needy patients is very, very important, especially during pandemic. We were expected to run our factories and continue to operate and ensure the uninterrupted supply of medicines to the world. In such scenario, we have adopted new modes of working and created a model which can be replicated to any crisis scenario. Next slide, please. So what are the characteristics of a crisis? A crisis could be anything. Let us say there could be a tsunami or a cyclone or an earthquake or maybe sudden fire inside the factory. It could be anything. Typically, when we talk about a pandemic like COVID, there will be a lot of restrictions with respect to people movement and with respect to meeting each other. Because in a factory setup, I don't know how many of you have been to any manufacturing company. So in a factory setup, it is very, very difficult to run operations without meeting each other. And especially a period like COVID, where you're expected to sanitize your hands thoroughly almost all the times when you meet people and almost all the times when you touch any object. But in a factory setup, it was almost impossible for us to run the operations in such scenario. But we had adopted a new model and we have created the factory inside factory concept. I'm going to talk about it going forward. Next slide, please. So this is the model I was referring to. During any crisis scenario, the bedrock for the entire model is situational leadership is very, very essential. And especially for those who are in HR, partnership with line managers, because you can't run the entire show. When I collaborate these two, situational leadership and line partnership, most of the times in regular times, what happens, you propose one thing, you may get resistance from line managers. No, this is not the way, we have to do it differently. In the time of crisis, you don't have those choices. You have to adopt. You have to direct people. There is no other option. Follow this. That's it. For this, having a close partnership line managers. When I say line managers, it's typically other people managers in the system who really manage people. And HR gives the people related interventions and support to those managers to ensure all the team members are treated well. So that line partnership and situational leadership played very, very critical role. And also in a regular scenario, we run our operations. I mean, we offer HR services from morning 9 to evening 6. Ensuring 24/7 availability was very, very critical. And strong liaison with government agencies. Any crisis, a reactor could blast in a factory or an accident could happen in a factory. For any crisis, in our context, ensuring proper liaison with the respective government agencies is very, very critical. This is foundation for our model. And typically, I categorize this model into 4 buckets. Number 1, employee safety and well-being, which is paramount important for us. Second one is ensuring employees' availability inside the factory to run our operations. Third one is employee productivity. And fourth one is aligning all external stakeholders. I'm going to discuss about each of these buckets going forward. Next slide, please. Yes. The first bucket is employee safety and well-being. Especially during this pandemic, when everyone was frightened to step out from their homes, we asked our employees to come out and work for us. And at the interest of, and at the larger interest of the world, so that we could supply medicines to the patients, not only in India, but also outside India. At the same time, we also need to ensure the employees coming to work with us should not get impacted, should not get hit badly with this pandemic. I myself, it's my personal experience. My wife was 6th month pregnant during March 2020 when this pandemic has hit us. So I was also frightened. Should I step out or not? If I go and if I get infected, I may be a carrier to my wife. If she also gets infected, what will be the state of the family? These things were running in my mind. Similarly, for other employees too, they're having aged parents at their homes and small kids, pregnant spouses, so many combinations. But still, we have to make it happen. Else, their operations will stop and the supply of medicines to the world will stop. Because of the pandemic, it doesn't mean the regular patients who need to consume medicines should not get impacted. So for ensuring that, we have to run our operations and we have to do something to make sure our employees come to duties. So the call what we have taken, in our employees too, there are certain vulnerable category like pregnant women, lactating mothers, employees who are aged 50 and above. We told them, look at, in this pandemic, you need not to come to office. You please stay indoors and stay safe, but we will pay you full salary. Though you need not to work. This is a stand that we have taken. And you can't differentiate really which is a normal cold and which is a COVID-related symptom. So we have given thorough awareness to all employees. In case of if they are feeling anything abnormal, if they feel that something is not right with their health, so each employee before entering inside the factory, it is mandatory for each employee to do a daily self-health declaration, which states, I don't have any COVID-related symptoms and I am not in touch with any of the COVID positive infected person, and none of my family members have any such symptoms. Because we have to trust our employees. Apart from this self-health declaration, there are no other checks. And most of our employees, especially in pharma industry, commute by company provided transport. And immediately, because in order to ensure physical distance, we had to reduce our occupancy of buses by 50%. So if 30 people used to travel in the bus, we were operating these buses only with 15, which also means that I have to arrange, if I was having 10 buses to ply employees, now I need to make 20 buses, which is additional cost. However, organization did not compromise on that. We have deployed additional buses. Even we used to charge employees earlier for commuting to office. During this pandemic, we have offered this entire transport facility to employees at free of cost. And zoning at factories, which is something very innovative, and we have never thought of that such scenario would come. In a regular factory, you have one canteen facility and some washrooms which are for the respective departments. And people come by same bus, they come by maybe carpool, and they attend duties. During this scenario, we have simulated a couple of models. Let us say one department is impacted. if they come to a common canteen to have food, if one person is infected, that infection could spread to other departments too. Hence, we have created the zones inside the factory. The entire factory was divided into 5 zones, and we have deputed different buses for all these 5 zones people, so that no person from other zone will come into touch with the other person from different zone. We have created satellite canteen facility for all these 5 zones, so each zone person will go to that respective canteen only. And we have given color coding tags to the individual which they are expected to wear when they are inside the factory. For example, I'm having a blue color badge. I should not enter into an area which is barricaded only for red color badge employees. So we have created factory inside the factory. So this zoning system was created, and which has really helped at the first wave of COVID. We could contain the cases very, very low inside the factory in spite of the number of cases increasing outside the world, because we ensured minimum contact. Even the cases are there that were contained to one particular zone rather than spreading to other zones. This zoning of factories really helped us. We never thought that we have to create another factory inside factory. This was something new that we had done. And we also created some camps for in-house testing of our employees. If somebody was having some symptoms, we have created a facility for employees to get tested inside the factory rather than going to outside diagnostic sector and giving sample and waiting for the result. Rather than that, as an organization, we facilitated it. For HR, not only this administrative and managing this change management, the biggest pain area is managing COVID positive cases of our employees and their family members. So we have created a helpline, 24/7 helpline, to provide medical support. And we also created the medicines which were not available in the market for our employees, like the medicines like remdesivir, favipiravir, 2D drugs. These were very, very on pretty demand at that point in time and not easily available for patients. So we have built stock for our employees, and we have offered these medicines to our employees and their family members at no cost to them. And also for family members, we have created the testing facility, and on each and every day from the HR, we used to call to that respective employee along with our OHC, which is Occupational Health Center doctor, on a conference call. We used to tell them and sensitize, you need not to worry, nothing to worry about it, we are here for you. So we used to offer that both emotional and as well as medical support to our employees. Because now it is pretty normal for everyone. Okay, if you are COVID positive, you can be isolated for 4 to 5 days and later on you will get cured. But at that point in time, the person who was detected with COVID was like, the others used to treat him as an alien. So we had to offer this emotional support to ensure the morale of the employee is not disturbed. And also lockdown support. Most of the employees, most of the states and districts, they have created a lot of restrictions on people movement. But we want our employees to come out of their homes and work for the factory. So if they have to commute, there were so many roadblocks. Police used to stop them. All those scenarios we faced. So we offered support to the employees in liaison with the local government agencies. And we have we have got them issued with some government passes so that they could commute to work without any hassles. Next slide, please. Please stop me during presentation if you have any questions. In this bucket, we are going to discuss about employee availability. We talked about employee safety. Now it is about employee availability. So at the initial phases of COVID, though we want our employees to work, most of the family members, they were not ready to send their, maybe spouses or maybe father, son, daughter to work. because of the fear of COVID. So we had counseled our employees and as well as family members and told them, let us assume that you're a doctor, your son is a doctor, or your daughter is a doctor. If you do not allow them to go out, how do they cure patients? This is a need of the hour. So please allow them to supply medicines. Imagine a situation. Doctor is available in hospital, but medicine is not available. What the doctor can do? Like that, we have counseled employees and their family members. We have sensitized on them. It is not the need of business to make money or something. It is a necessity for the entire world to ensure these medicines are available. If that, in spite of doctors' availability in the hospital, without medicine, doctor also cannot do anything. Hence, ensuring this uninterrupted supply was very, very essential. So we have sensitized both employees and as well as their family members. I personally spoke to them and I counseled them and I convinced them to come to the factory. And we also circulated videos for the family. See, this is how our factories are being operated with less physical contact with other employees, so that you can be rest assured that the employee safety is taken care of. And mandatory e-learning courses and creating, awareness in both on-roll and off-roll employees. So we have done all this related stuff. Logistic support. So if you recollect, maybe somewhere in third week of May, the Janata curfew was announced by Honorable Prime Minister of India. So most of the employees, they got frightened and they moved to their native places. Now calling them back was a challenge for us, because almost 40% of employees, they moved to their native places, their native villages of different districts and different states. Calling them back was a challenge because no public transport was available. Nobody was allowing employees to come out. So we have created an intervention called Ghar Vapsi. So with the support of most of these people belong to the Andhra and Telangana states. So we have liaised with both these states, government authorities and officials, and we have taken their permission and we have deployed buses to each and every corner of the state to pick up those employees and bring them back to work, so that we can run our operations and ensure these medicines are available. And the second part of it, we also thought about the worst scenario. Let us say the pandemic may spread and most of our employees get infected. Unlike other companies, for example, let us say other manufacturing companies which do not deal with chemicals, they can shut down their factories and go out. But in case of chemical factory, you cannot shut down when a chemical reaction is on in your reactor. Otherwise, even it could lead to a major disaster like blast, that reactor blast, or anything can happen, unimaginable. So we thought about the worst and worst scenario. If that scenario comes, we need at least these 100 set of people who need to bring the operations into a safe mode, so that at least the factory and the surroundings remain safe. So we have created in-house accommodation facility for those 100 employees. So they will not go out from the factory. They will stay inside the factory. We have created everything. We have created temporary washrooms for them. We have created beds and everything for them. So they stay inside the factory and they operate. They take, in case of the worst scenario, they handle the operations and they bring back each and every chemical reaction to the safe mode. And if that situation comes, we have no choice than closing down the factory for the temporary time. And from the recognition point of view, we have offered hardship allowance because people are taking risk and stepping out from their homes to support this cause. So we have given hardship allowance to each and every employee, both on roll and off roll, without any differentiation. Next slide, please. So the another challenge was doing more with less. Because let us say earlier we used to have 1,000 people in a factory. Because of these COVID issues, someone is infected or someone is stuck at their native place, someone is not ready to come, some of them are vulnerable employees, we have not called them to duty. So now let us say I have only 600 people inside the factory. It doesn't mean I can operate at half capacity. If I operate at half capacity, the medicines I won't be able to supply. Hence, we have simulated multiple models. For example, with the 600 people, we need to ensure the productivity of 1000 should go outside from the factory. So we have, let us normally in factories operate in a 3-shift model to ensure 24/7 the operations are intact. When I say 3-shift model, our A shift normally starts from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. B shift 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Night shift is 10 p.m. to 6 p.m. If I go with this model, I need 3 sets of people. So one set of people come in A shift, they hand over the task to B shift guys, and the another set takes over from B shift team. So I need 3 sets of people to ensure this business continuity. So we have gone to a 2-shift model. We have taken permission from respective authorities. We have gone to 12 hours working model, 6 to 6, morning 6 to evening 6, and evening 6 to morning 6. We have obtained permission from necessary government officials, and we have gone ahead and implemented this model. So there are 2 positivities in this model. Number 1, the footprint means the head count inside the factory will be less at any given point in time. And I'm also reducing touch point from one shift to another shift. For example, if A shift to B shift, when the handover needs to happen, people need to meet each other and understand and take the handover. Similarly, B to C shift also, people need to meet and take the handover. With this, that is minimized to only 1. Only the handover happens only one time, because there are only 2 shifts. There is only one changeover happens during the day. And the presence of people inside the factory also drastically reduced, because the available man hours is increased from 8 to 12. Hence, I need not to have more people within the factory. This model we have adopted and ensured the business was intact. And remote working. So most of the times, the work from home was only limited to software companies. In manufacturing, it was almost like nil before COVID scenario. But here, we were forced to explore those options. We have identified some roles which can be operated from a remote place, need not to be present inside the factory. So we have given laptops to those employees, and we have created complete tech support system for them so that they can support from home rather than coming to the factories and operate. So those who are not directly involved in production related activities, who are need not to be present inside the factory, we have given them the work from home option. And employee morale, because most of the times if you see, this is very, very critical time. As leaders, we have to demonstrate. So sometimes we see that though we ask our people to, our shop floor employees and the team members to come to factory and work, most of the times leaders' presence is very, very important. As a leader, if I go into a shell and I ask and I expect my team members to come out and work for me, nobody would do that. So we ensured the top leadership team of the factory is present inside the factory and constantly go to the shop floor, meet people and demonstrate, I am here with you, let us do this together. I am not asking you to sacrifice your life, you come out and do it for me. I am also here along with you, let us do this together and support to the world in this crisis. So not only the leadership team at the factories, including chairman and CEO, they have gone to the shop floor, they visited factories, they interacted with people, of course, with the physical distancing norms, and provided that moral support that we are with you. Let us do this together. That kind of moral support we have extended. Next slide, please. navigating together. So, which is nothing but aligning external stakeholders. So, howsoever I do it for my employees internally, when you operate a factory in an ecosystem, so you also need to align external stakeholders. So we have created something called business continuity plan, and we have shared with all stakeholders, with factories department and with other government officials, and we have invited them to visit our factory and observe how are we operating during this crisis. And also we have supplied food, medicines and meals to the local police, because this was a time when the entire police force was supporting and ensuring the unnecessary roaming of people is avoided on the roads and enforcing the strict lockdown. So we have supplied required medicines, food and nose masks and all sanitizers to them. And local communities, so especially in villages, when you operate a factory, especially in villages, some of the villages they have closed down their borders. They told that we will not send anyone to work in your factories, because if this guy gets infected, he will spread the virus to entire village. So we don't want any of our villagers to go out of our village and work in your factory. This was a time we had to intervene, speak to those opinion makers, tell them and again sensitize them the need of the hour. If they do not work for the company, how do we supply medicines to the world? So we had sensitized them, and some of them have agreed. It doesn't mean that every time we could crack it. There were instances where they were very rigid, they were not ready to send. Then we have gone for other means. We have sourced resources from other areas, not from that particular village, and with that, influencing the opinion makers and ensuring that our employees way is free, so that they can come to work and go back to home safely, and giving back to the society. So some groceries distribution to the needy people, we have done it. And recovered employees, we have encouraged them to donate plasma to others, so that others also can be recovered very, very quickly. And we have recognized them. We have created a list of database from our employees who were infected and with their blood group. Whenever there was a request for plasma donation comes, we used to approach them, and we used to help the society with our employees by donating plasma. Next slide, please. So with related to business impact and what were the key learnings. So we have launched some medicines which were related to COVID. So like remdesivir, favipiravir, these were the medicines immediately we have launched. And immediately we have, launching a medicine doesn't mean that you can create, a combination of chemicals, you can mix it and sell it to the market. Operating a pharmaceutical company is very, very different than doing any other manufacturing company. This is very, very sensitive, because anything that goes wrong in manufacturing a medicine can hit a life in a bad manner. Hence, it is very, very essential to do a thorough check before sending a tablet out. So we have quickly repurposed our lines and created the required ecosystem in order to supply the medicines related to COVID, and we could deliver them successfully. And in our own factory, we have developed a sanitizer, Vero Wash, and launched into the market, because that was the need of the hour. So we have created that facility and launched into the market. And despite of these challenges and employee availability, despite of lockdown restrictions and everything, we have ensured the uninterrupted supply of medicines as per commitment, without even a single failure, to the needy patients across the world. And when it comes to key learning, we have converted this crisis as an opportunity to test new ways of working. Let us say there was a belief, I would need minimum 50 people to do this task. But during this time, we could do it even with 30 to 40 people. It doesn't mean that we have sacked other people, but the productivity is increased. So the accepted norms of productivity were tested during this tough time. And as the, as it says, necessity is the mother of innovation. So people could identify new ways of working during this crisis time to ensure we support business and the world during this time. And remote working possibility in manufacturing was never imagined in past. So it was an opportunity for us to identify some roles who can support from home and do these activities. So it could may lead to identifying or maybe tagging certain roles across the manufacturing sector, which can be operated from remote forever. So future role design is something that it could lead to. And the last main connectivity with shop floor people, because during this pandemic, this communication is very, very important. Any crisis, during any crisis time, communicating and ensuring the last man standing in the row receives the communication in the way that you intend to do it is very, very essential. So that was a major learning for us. How did we do that? And all those things were a major learning. And enhanced speed of decision making. As I told at starting of the presentation, this was the time you can't consult 100 people to take a decision. If you spend most of the time in consulting 100 people to arrive at a decision, then things won't move. That needs directional and situational leadership. So that has enhanced the decision making agility within the organization. And increased collaboration between teams and departments to ensure delivery. See, in a regular scenario, people different, see, in any organization will have all these dynamics. Different departments have their own silos, their own way of operating. This won't work, that won't work kind of scenario would be there in normal phase. But during this time, all those silos were broken off. People collaborated together. And they came for a purpose. They realized we have to, at any cost, we have to do this task and we have to ensure this delivery happens so that the last person who is consuming this tablet will not be suffered. So this was the purpose and cause the entire team was working. So that collaboration between different teams and departments we have witnessed. And accelerated solution of accelerated adoption of digital solutions, like the way we are having this discussion today in Google Meet, like MS Teams and other options like DocuSign. In a regular scenario, it would take maybe 5 to 6 years span to roll out across the organization. During this phase, this adoption of these digital tools was accelerated. Nobody had a choice. If they have to operate, they have to use these digital tools. So that forced the organization to implement this change on a rapid manner. Next slide, please. So, going forward, probably, of course, we have witnessed some of these changes which are on this screen. And going forward, how these changes are going to impact this entire COVID scenario. Gig workforce probably would redefine the employee and employee relationship. So I may not need a person to work with me for the entire duration of an year. I would hire someone for a temporary basis with a mutual understanding or mutual agreement. Same way, employees also may not ready to work for an employer on a permanent basis. They also would want to switch employees. They want to offer their services as a consultant or a SME, subject matter expert kind of thing. And probably a gig workforce may grow going forward. And virtual selections and onboarding. So earlier, especially in manufacturing setup, we used to have in-person or one-on-one interviews and select people and do onboarding. Now, not only in now the entire manufacturing setup, most of the companies have gone for this virtual selection, either interviews through Skype, Zoom, or MS Teams, any other digital platform. And they started adopting these digital tools and doing their onboarding in a fast manner. So employee engagement and personal connect. In earlier scenario, when you say employee engagement and personal connect, So we used to sit with the employees maybe in a town halls and have a one-on-one conversation or one-on-one recognition kind of thing. In front of public gatherings, we used to recognize our employees. Now this entire scenario is changed. Town halls are moved to digital platforms, and the personal connect, now it has become a digital connect now. So these are the challenges. And changing aspects of performance. So especially for those people, for those roles who are expected to operate from home. So how do we measure their performance? So those aspects got changed. And role of people managers, handling distributed workforce. Because in manufacturing setup, earlier for the people managers, their entire crew used to sit in the factory and they used to greet and meet each one of them day in and day out. Now, for the people managers also, handling this distributed workforce, some of them are doing work from home, some of them are doing work inside the factory. So those roles also we had to redesign, and we had to handle our people managers on handling these aspects. And revised productivity norms, we discussed on this. And this accelerated industrial revolution, like the machine learning, artificial intelligence, the, this demand for new skills. So now the great resignation trend is going on. So if we continue to expect employment with the skills that I was having, those days are gone. So as an employee also, I have to constantly upgrade my skills so that I remain employable. Otherwise, those days are not far. The Industrial Revolution 4.0, which is expected to come much, much later, is going to hit us soon, even in India as well. So managerial roles need redesigning. So with the introduction of this industrial revolution, so if it is like, let us say machine learning or something, the decisions will be automatically thrown out by a machine. So typically what managers are doing now, by virtue of their experience, they process this information available with them in their mind, and they give whether they should go or they should not go decision making. Now machines are going to do that. So manager's role is changing drastically. And impact on employment opportunities, we discussed on this. Especially in India, exposed the scenario of unorganized labor market. If you would recall, these lockdown times, those were the days we have seen labor moving everywhere, here and there, across the country. People from UP, people from Bihar, people from West Bengal, people from Tamil Nadu, people from Karnataka, people from different states of the country were on roads, and they walked miles together to reach their destination. This has exposed how unorganized labor sector is working in the country. And it may force some of the governments to define or maybe to enforce the mandatory employment for locals in and out their villages, or maybe in and out their districts. So this is going to have some impact, at least on labor legislation in India, and also revision of labor laws, like redefining factory or establishment or a workplace. Let us say when something happens to a person inside a factory, that it's while working, it used to be an accident. Now let us say I'm just taking to a hypothetical situation. Somebody is working from home. If they connect their laptop, let us say laptop charger to the electricity board, somebody, if that individual would get electric shock and something happens to that individual, who would take care of him? Because the definition of workplace doesn't cover your home, right? So probably the labor legislation may also revisit these factors, like occupational hazards and regulating working hours. If you have some of your family members, maybe brothers or sisters or your relatives, especially who are working in the service sector in a software industry, so they would tell you how their working hours are impacted due to this. So though most of the people are thinking that people are doing work from home, they are happy. But in fact, the reality is that when I connect with some of my friends, they tell they are working for a longer duration than they used to do in past. So this working hours regulation is also going to be relooked by our labor legislation reformers. And also freedom of association with respect to the union dynamics also will have an impact going forward with respect to these digital changes. Next slide, please. So that's it from my end. Thanks a lot. Any questions?
Sir, excuse me. I hope I'm audible. Yeah. Sir, so in the initial stage, you are talking about how we could ensure uh, the safety of our workers and like how like people who had like comparatively higher levels of risk were told to not come to work and still they would get their pay. Um, is this something that like who takes this decision? Is an HR person like free to take that decision, or should it be taken by the like the top level management? And from their point of view, uh, like is it always like feasible like economically to the company to do such kind of a practice?
Okay. Thanks, Aman. So there are two aspects in it. Number one, the top management plays very critical role in taking such calls because you want to pay someone who is not contributing it back. So this has some monetary impact attached to this decision. So certainly the top management has given the direction on this front. At the same time, as a HR, you have to ensure keep sensitivity in mind and ensure the in terms of identifying the vulnerable population. So you will also see some people who will take undue advantage of those scenarios. So taking those calls on case to case basis is the job of HR. And at the same time, from the at the board level, the HR representation also talks about this employee safety and tell that okay, these people are working with us. At the same time, we have no right to harm their lives. So
Yes.
putting this proposal across the table is the duty of HR, and influencing the stakeholders and the top management team to get a decision favorably is also lies on HR. So that's where your influencing skills and your data and your presentation skills come into the picture. So whether will you be able to influence them or not, whether will you be able to align top management with your proposal or not, how strong your proposal is, how appealing it is, and how is it going to impact the business in positive and negative way, and how much monetary impact would it have in your P&L. All these things, HR should do the homework and put the proposal to the top management so that they approve it. I
Okay,
hope I
sir.
answered the question.
Thank you, sir.
Well, not really. In fact, as I understand, as the speaker also said, the line management has a greater role to play in here with respect to the HR policies. So, whatever decisions HR takes, very routine decisions, or sometimes this kind of extraordinary decisions, like with respect to transportation, with respect to the shift arrangement, etc., it will not be successful unless there is a buy-in from the line manager. So this becomes a very challenging thing for HR managers to convince the line managers. So, sir, if you would, cite upon some instances where you had, some challenges in convincing these line managers, and how did you get their buy-in? Any kind of situation that you have faced, that would be great.
So thanks, Rijitji. So in fact, there was no much resistance from the line managers, because since most of them were senior associates in the organization, they know the importance of ensuring the supply of medicines. However, there were few instances, so we have counseled them. And for example, let us say a person X is showing resistance. So we spoke to this person and counseled and sensitized. When his team members are coming to factory and working, and his boss means X+1 is also inside the factory. So when this individual was not ready to accept our counseling, or was not responded positively, we have followed it through X+1 and ensured the person is in the system. Because this was a time you can't go with counseling mode for a long time, because we need to get the results.
Right. So this is where probably the networking helps. So we would try to try to understand who could influence the person X. So we will go with the X+1 route, the first step of network, etc. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Any other questions from the student side?
Sir, how do you manage the recruitment policies during these hard times?
So earlier we used to do walk-ins pre-COVID era. So later on we switched over to the digital platforms. So we started interviewing people using MS Teams and Skype, or even in fact through WhatsApp video calls as well. So because we had no choice, and that is how we completed our selections, and we moved to a digital onboarding platform. And before taking any new employee inside our system, we have gone ahead and ensured they are tested negative before they enter inside the factory. And once they become our employee, anyhow, we take care of the other safety aspects. That's how we handled.
Will it matches with the same lines, sir? Like during offline interviews, you may able to scrutinize more. Is it happening same in online?
In fact, I looked it as a positive opportunity, because in offline mode, my line managers and interview panel also had to travel to the destination and do these interviews that used to take a lot of time. Now, they can comfortably sit at their home or maybe from their office, and at their mutual convenient time, they can do the interviews. And you could even connect with more people rather than you do it in an offline interview. But only challenge here is that you may not be able to gauge the individual's body language or so. But for a shop floor population, these digital interviews helped very much. But for a senior level people, though we have done shortlisting through this digital mode of interviews, but if it is very, very critical role, we have called the person to the factory and we did the in-person interviews.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. So during the pandemic situation also, when there is a transformation in technology or platform where the workers use, then as an HR personnel, how can we ensure the comfortness of the employers?
Comfortness of the employee.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, okay, good question, Varsha. So, while using any digital platform, normally you're expected to train your employees. So, on how to use this digital platform, what are the challenges, how to navigate to the SOMS or task, and how to get it completed. So, here in this scenario also, it was expected to do, but in a regular time, it used to take maybe months and couple of years. But in this phase, we were expected to do this transition probably in a week's time or maybe overnight. So we have done this capability building again through digital platforms, through MS Teams. The trainers used to do these video sessions, and they used to share their screen and show the navigation to the respective employees. And especially those population who were not having laptops, we have provided laptop to them, and we have encrypted because of the safety and security data security related informations policies. So we have encrypted those laptops and we have given it to them so that they can do it work from home, and the necessary capability building was done because we have dedicated a set of team to support this digital support, which was made available 24/7 to all employees. So at any point in time, if they're stuck, they can simply pick a phone and connect with them, and they can share their screen and get it resolved.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Pooja, in fact, there was no time to thought about it because people normally look up to HR when they are in crisis. So they see you as a companion or a friend, or who can be reached when they are in need. So in this role, we really had no time. In fact, as I told you, my wife was also pregnant at that point in time. So I myself stayed inside the factory for a couple of weeks. And my presence in fact made a lot of difference, because as a HR leader of the factory, when you stay inside the factory and when you roam and meet people, that gives very positive vibes to the other set of employees. So they also come forward to support business. We really had no time to adopt this change. Every night we used to have calls till 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock, because there were scenarios, there were factories which used to locate in one district, but the employees who were working in the factory used to commute from 3 or 4 districts surrounded by. When the districts were sealed, and these government restrictions also used to change every day, very dynamic. So one day they used to open one district border, and the other day they used to open another district border. We really had no time to prepare strategies. So we used to connect very quickly for 10 to 15 minutes, and we used to take quick decisions, and immediately we need to shift our employees maybe close to the factory. In fact, we have hired some hotels which were closed by our factory. We have booked entire hotel for our employees. We have picked up our employees from their homes by company transport. We shifted them to these hotels so that they need not to go out. And at the same time, from the employees' family point of view, we have supplied groceries to their homes. So also they need not to worry about their families. So we really had no time, because the situation was very dynamic. You don't know from where the problem comes up.
Yes, sir. Thank you for addressing the question.
So there is another question which I've asked.
Okay. So Jawahar, while creating this BCP model, it was not one department, it was a cross-functional team. So we had collected inputs from different safety department, HR department, administration department, and plant heads, quality function. So everyone were involved in framing this BCP. Once this BCP is framed, we have created awareness to these employees. Even now, it went up to BCP 9.0. That was the last version we had on this. So we have created awareness to all employees. It was completely non-negotiable when it comes to adherence to the norms of the BCP. Non-negotiable and zero tolerance for any violation. We made sure that all employees have to follow this. If they do not follow, there is no entry inside the factory. There was zero tolerance to these BCP norms. There were instances, there were a couple of employees who used to violate physical distancing norms, who used to violate the nose mask complaints. So we used to take severe actions on them, because at the end of the day, it is not only their safety, it is also related to safety of the other colleagues as well. So we did take actions on those violators, and it was completely zero tolerance policy in terms of adherence to these norms. Then employees also realized the seriousness of the BCP and they started following it up. Okay. So let me tell you, when we have started this Garv Vapasi program, there were a couple of employees who were reluctant to come. And initially they moved to their native places during the Janata curfew time. However, we have paid salaries to them, though they were not present in the city, they were not attending duties. But when we have arranged company transport to their home pickup and to bring back them to the factories, but some of them they said that they can't come, they are not ready to come. Then we have no choice than stopping their salaries, because employees were explaining that I don't have any public transport, how can I come and work for your factory? So we arranged all those things. In spite of that, there were a couple of cases, not many, very few cases, who restricted to come. But if I do not take action on them, that sends a very wrong message for the entire other fraternity. So they would also say, why would I come? So hence, we have taken action on those cases. Apart from that, for the rest of the cases, the organization treated this entire scenario with empathy. In fact, we have created our own COVID care homes. We have created our own isolation facilities. We have hired hotels and created these facilities for employees. Because most of the times, what happens, especially bachelors, they stay in rooms with other friends. So it is not necessary that every time the entire roommates work for the same factory or same company. So there were instances, not one, many instances where these bachelors were impacted and they can't go out to get groceries or to take medicine or anything. So we have shifted them to our COVID care facility, isolation facility, and our own doctors treated them. We have provided food and everything at zero cost to employee. This entire cost was borne by organization. And especially for these bachelors, when we were operating in 2-shift model, we have given packed food to them, because they need not to go out when they go to homes. They need not to cook again. They need not to step out for the groceries. We have packed their food and given them as a parcel when they step out from the organization on that particular day. It was a little difficult, to be very honest with you, because everyone was under tremendous stress. So what we have done simultaneously, we have created a support system called My Dost. For example, I'm under tremendous stress, or maybe I am low emotionally, so I can reach out to this My Dost team. So it's a professional psychologist empaneled with this My Dost team, so they can reach out to them for support. And at the same time, apart from the people who were working inside the factories, for the work life, for the people who were supporting from home, we have clearly defined the timelines in which they can be reached and the timelines which are restricted. Maybe lunch breaks are defined for them, and post beyond your time, we were expected to not to contact those employees unless it is very, very emergency related to safety. Apart from that, we have created this guideline and circulated to employees so that their work-life balance is intact. We have recognized them as COVID heroes in public. In case if somebody used to go to, somebody is infected with COVID and recovered, came back to duties. So we used to recognize them as COVID heroes. And we used to give them an opportunity to meet our leaders, senior leadership team. So the chairman and managing director of the organization used to visit shop floor, and they can interact with them. They can experience. I mean, they can explain their pain areas, which get resolved. And apart from that, as I told you, the monetary benefit hardship allowance we have extended. And mainly the safety was very, very important. That sense of security we have created for employees, because whatever the money that you give, whatever the rewards and recognitions you give, unless a person feels he or she is secured to work inside a factory, people will not come. So creating this sense of security was very, very critical for us at that point in time. So we created that, hence we could pull people. So we were 100% adhered to the government norms, both state and central government norms, with respect to export and import of these drugs and any other these pharmaceutical related instruments or medicines. So we were 100% adhered to those norms. There was no question on that. So, but at the same time, especially for the employees and the family members, for example, the drugs like remdesivir or 2DG or favipiravir. So these were the drugs mainly used to treat COVID patients during first and second wave. So we have created supplies. Even for government also, we have supplied medicines from the organization, and for the employees and family members also, we have supplied it from our end. But there was no single instance where the rules set by both state and central government were broken.
Well, nothing much from my
Yes,
end.
sir.
It is pretty well covered. Over to Vijay, sir.
Yes. Thank you so much, Vamsi, for accepting our invitation to interact with the students. First of all, from your presentation, I could understand that the hard work or the commitment that you have shown in the tough times. I could see a lot of soft HR involved in this tough situation rather than the rules and regulations or something. I could see that you have put a lot of effort to convince, a lot of efforts to make aware and to strengthen their morale among the workers. And that itself, the soft HR that really that you have taken, and the innovative steps that you have, models that you have adopted, factory within factory, or predicting the worst as a HR was the most important thing that you have mentioned. Predicting the worst in the difficult times, and you maintained the ratios accordingly when you are planning, when you are making your human resource planning. So certain things that I really impressed. In engage, you are able to. I think now you are handling 2 plants, right? I understand that you are handling 2 plants where there are more than 3,000 employees. It is very difficult to manage 3,000 employees. So I hope students might have understand HR, the wider range of HR activities that he has covered. It is dealing with the government, it is dealing with other stakeholders, it is dealing with the employees and their families and the moral, and a lot of issues that he has covered within this short time. I really feel so happy, and I congratulate for the award that you have won for Reddy's for your innovative HRD models. That's it from my side, and on behalf of HOD, staff members, and scholars and students, I really thank you for accepting our invitation. Thank you so much, Vamsi.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Vijay. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you, friends. Have a good day. Stay safe.
Yeah. Good morning, one and all who gathered here for this session. I would like to thank Mr. Vamsi Mallempati sir for taking us through the HR insights of business continuity in tough times with most of the practical scenarios. I extend my gratitude to the respected HOD, Shafi sir and Srijit sir, and as well as Vijay sir for encouraging us every possible way in the student-driven activities. I would like to extend my thanks to each and every person of training and placement team of SOMS work to make this session happen. It's pleasure to thank everyone who joined this meet and made this event successful with their presence and participation. Thank you, one and all.